Okay, I want to start today with a little thought experiment. It's going to sound a bit random, but just, stay with me on
All
this.
right, I'm with you.
So imagine you're driving your car, you're on the highway, music's on, everything's fine, and then all of a sudden, this little red light starts flashing on your dashboard.
The check engine light.
The check engine light, or maybe low oil. That universal symbol of, well,
Impending doom. Yeah.
exactly. So here's the question. When that light comes on, do you pull over, pop the hood, and start, I don't know, tinkering with the engine block with your bare hands?
I certainly hope not. You'd burn yourself, or much worse.
Right. You look at the dashboard, you use the controls inside the cabin, you interact with the interface to figure out what's wrong with the machine.
Okay, I see where you're going with this.
Now, what if I told you that the human body, this incredibly complex machine we all walk around in, also have a dashboard? And what if that dashboard is your face?
That's quite a hook. But it's actually a very precise analogy for the material we're looking at today. It sounds like science fiction, but we're really talking about a medical philosophy from Vietnam that's been around for, what, almost half a century now.
Today, we are taking a deep dive into Din Chen. Now, depending on which source you're looking at, this gets translated as facial reflexology, face diagnosis, or, and this is the one that completely grabbed me, cybernetic therapy.
Cybernetic therapy. I mean, that phrase really sets the tone, doesn't it? We're looking at a whole stack of materials from the VYO International Center. We've got newsletters, course outlines, a bit of history.
And our mission for this deep dive is to really understand a pretty radical idea.
A very radical idea.
Yeah.
That by manipulating your own face, you can control your body's internal functions. The idea is to basically turn the patient into their own physician.
Which is just a massive shift in how we think about getting sick. Usually it's, I feel bad, I need to go see someone to fix me.
Right. But this is saying, no, you have the tools right there on your neck. You just need to learn how to use them.
It's about autonomy.
Exactly.
Hey,
But before we get into the how, and trust me, the how involves some very specific tools and maps, we need to talk about the who. I mean, who came up with this idea that the face is a control panel?
right, let's unpack that origin story. We're talking about Professor and Doctor of Science Buikwat Chow.
Yes, GSTSKH Buikwat Chow. He's a really significant figure in this field. He was born in 1942 in Vien Long, Vietnam. But the key date in all our source material is 1980.
1980, that's the year he founded the Din Shen method.
And that context is so interesting. You have to think about what Vietnam was like in 1980.
It was in a period of rebuilding. Resources were not exactly overflowing.
That's a crucial observation because, innovation is so often born from scarcity. When you don't have access to an MRI machine or a cabinet full of pharmaceuticals, you look for other solutions.
You look at what's available.
And what's more available than the human body itself?
And it's clear this wasn't just some fleeting idea. I mean, the newsletters we have are talking about a huge milestone, the 45th anniversary of Dit Chen.
Which really puts the longevity into perspective.
Yeah.
This has been practiced and taught and refined for 4.5 decades. It's a sustained movement. And Professor Chow is still leading it. He's listed as the director of the Viet Tao International Center in Ho Chi Minh City.
I love that name, by the way, Viet Tao. It sounds less like a clinic and more like, I don't know, a martial art,
Yeah.
a way of life.
You are spot on. It translates roughly to the Vietnamese Tao or way of medicine. It implies a philosophy, not just a set of techniques. It's not just press this spot for a headache.
It's a whole worldview.
It is.
There was a quote in one of the newsletters that really hammered this home for me. It didn't sound like a doctor. It sounded like a monk. Tem huang valao, noi dao cao ansang.
Where the mind goes, where the heart is directed, there is light.
It's beautiful, but what does that actually mean in a medical context?
It connects your intention to the healing process. It suggests that it's not just a mechanical thing. It's not just a wrench turning a bolt. It implies that where you focus your attention, your mind, you're directing energy or, blood flow, nerve impulses to that spot. The mind becomes an active part of the healing.
So if that philosophy is the software, let's talk about the hardware. Let's get back to that control panel idea. How do the sources explain the mechanism? Because, to the average person, rubbing your chin to fix back pain sounds, well, a bit magical.
It does, but they frame it through that lens of cybernetics.
Mhm.
The term they use is Diem Chen Yu Kin Liu Fap, and Yu Kin means control.
Okay, so break down cybernetic for us in this context.
Well, think of a feedback loop. Like your thermostat is a cybernetic device. It senses the room temperature, compares it to a setting, and then it tells the furnace to turn on or off.
Okay.
The theory here is that the face is covered in these points that act like switches. When you stimulate a specific point on the face, you're not just massaging the skin, you are inputting a signal.
Like you're typing a command on a keyboard.
Precisely. That signal travels through the nervous system to the brain, and the brain then sends the command to the right part of the body. So you stimulate the back point on your nose, the brain gets that message, and it sends a relax or heal signal to your actual back.
That's fascinating. You're essentially hacking your own nervous system.
Yeah.
And the big selling point, which I saw bolded everywhere in these texts, is what it doesn't use.
No drugs. That is the core pillar. It's repeated over and over. A natural, safe method, no pharmaceuticals, no invasive procedures. You're not putting anything into the body.
Right.
You're just stimulating what's already there.
But you are using things on the body. I saw a whole section on Drunoku tools. It looked like a catalog of gadgets.
Yeah, it's a bit of a toolbox. The center sells these specific instruments, little rollers, prodders, tiny hammers. They're all designed to stimulate those points more precisely than you could with just a finger.
And there was mention of heat, too. Ngaku.
Yes, moxibustion. They use wormwood or mugwort. They burn it near the skin to apply this really focused heat to the points. So the mechanism is really a combination of three things: mechanical pressure, heat, and the precise location on the facial map.
Okay, so we have the theory. The face is a keyboard, the tools are your fingers typing, and the brain is the CQ. Now we have to get into the claims section, because this is where I just stopped and went, wait, really? The list of things this claims to treat is just wild.
It's incredibly extensive. As we went through the experience and treatment sections, it became pretty clear that they see this as a universal system. It's not just for, like, minor aches and pains.
But let's start there with the aches and pains, because that seems to be the entry point for most people.
It is. The sources talk a lot about Din Shen Shui Dao Lung treating back pain, but they add a specific detail. They claim to treat the root cause to prevent it from coming back, not just to mask the pain.
And then there's the office worker special. I feel like they wrote this section just for me.
You mean the cervical spondylosis?
The neck pain. I've been looking at my phone too much pain.
Yes, neck degeneration is a big one. Also, intercostal neuralgia. That's rib pain. But the one I found really specific was the finger joint pain. The text even notes that this is common for office workers and the elderly.
And this is where that reflexology concept really clicks for me. If my finger hurts, my first instinct is to rub my finger. But that could actually make it worse, right?
Exactly. If the joint is inflamed, rubbing it might aggravate it. Din Chan says, don't touch the finger. Find the point on the face that corresponds to the finger. Treat the reflection. It lets you address the problem without touching the injured area directly.
That logic holds up, but then we move to the face, treating the face. Sensory organs, like itchy eyes.
Chiamet seems simple enough. You stimulate points to reduce the histamine response or irritation. But right next to that, in the same document, is a much bigger claim: cataracts.
I had to double-check that translation. I mean, cataracts are a structural problem. The lens of the eye literally clouds over. You usually need surgery for that.
And the source material is very confident here. It presents Din Chun as a new direction to improve vision and treat cataracts without surgery. It frames it as restoring the body's natural ability to clear that blockage.
That is a massive claim, and it just shows the ambition of this method. It's not staying in the wellness lane. It's swerving right into medical intervention.
And it continues, sinusitis, specifically posterior ethmoid sinusitis. And here's one that's socially very useful: bad breath.
Okay, walk me through that one. How does poking your face fix bad breath? Is it just making you salivate or something?
The explanation seems to be more systemic. They don't see bad breath as just a mouth problem, but as a symptom of something internal. Maybe the stomach or the liver isn't functioning right. So by adjusting those organs from the facial control panel, they claim to fix the odor from the inside out.
Hot liver was another phrase that kept popping up.
Yes, Jinongan. In Vietnamese traditional medicine, a hot liver is kind of a metaphor for a state of the body inflammation, poor detoxification, maybe irritability or acne. So by cooling the liver through these points, you solve a whole bunch of downstream problems.
Okay, so we've covered pain, eyes, bad breath. Now we get to the really serious neurological stuff. This is where that cybernetic theory really gets tested. Parkinson's disease.
That was a striking one to see. I mean, Parkinson's is a progressive neurodegenerative disorder. It's heavy. The source material describes the Diện Chẩn method for it as a simple, safe therapy that can significantly improve symptoms.
And facial paralysis, Bell's palsy.
Now, this one makes a certain intuitive sense. Bell's palsy is paralysis of the seventh cranial nerve. If your whole therapy is about stimulating facial nerves and muscles,
You're literally working on the affected area.
right. Correcting a deviated face or asymmetry seems like the most direct application of the method. You're stimulating the hardware right where it's broken.
And then, just to keep us on our toes, there's a cheat code for nosebleeds.
Yes. Cam. The text claims that with just a few simple operations, pressing specific points, you can stop a nosebleed instantly. No tissues, no tilting your head back. Just press the button.
It really does feel like they're presenting a user manual for the human body. If leaking, press button A.
And that user manual approach is exactly why they're so focused on education. This isn't some secret knowledge for an elite few. They want everyone to read the manual.
Let's talk about the learner's path, because looking at these documents, the Vietao International Center is run like a proper university.
It really is an academy. They have a structured curriculum. The sources list ABC classes, which I'm assuming are the foundational, 101 courses.
And they're not stuck in 1980, they're on Zoom.
Yes, the online K45 course. That K45 designation implies they've run 45 cohorts of this online training already. That suggests thousands of students over the years.
And it's happening right now. The schedule lists classes starting on January 12th and March 2nd, 2026. This is a living, breathing community.
And if you're in Ho Chi Minh City, there's a physical hub, 16 Kee Kon Street in Phu Nhuon District. The sources describe it as a bustling center. Morning shifts, evening shifts, healthcare services, tool sales. It's a whole ecosystem.
But, we can talk about the syllabus and the address, but what really sells a method like this are the people. The testimonials in the source material were fascinating. They weren't just saying, my pain is gone. There was something deeper there.
I agree. The emotional resonance in that feedback was palpable.
Take Nguyen Minh. He went straight to the economics of it.
He did. He said, I have saved, I don't know how much money for myself and those around me.
That's a huge motivator. Healthcare is expensive. Medicine is expensive. If you can fix your own back with a little wooden roller you bought once, that's economic freedom.
It ties right back to that idea of self-reliance. If you're not dependent on a clinic for every little ache and pain, you have more control over your life, over your resources.
And then there's Mai To Nhiep. He called the method miraculous, but he added this specific phrase, friendly to Vietnamese people.
That stood out to me too. It speaks to the cultural identity of Vietnamese. There's a real sense of pride there. This isn't some imported technique from the West. It's homegrown. It feels tailored to the Vietnamese context. It's accessible, understandable, and rooted in the culture.
And then looking at the long game, there's Dung Thien Mac. She made a prediction. She believes the method will develop in depth and space and won't become obsolete.
That is such a bold statement in our current era. We're living in the age of AI, gene editing, nanobots. We are literally rewriting the code of life. And here she is saying, no, this manual method will survive.
Why do you think she believes that?
Because the argument from the center is that the biological laws of the human body don't really change. Technology evolves, but the nervous system, the basic wiring we're born with, it stays the same. As long as we have faces and nerves, they argue, this map will be accurate.
And there's one more testimonial that I think perfectly sums up the entire mission of the founder, Di To Ngo. He said, from a sick person, I have now become someone who treats others.
That is the ultimate validation of Professor Chow's goal, turn the patient into the physician. It just breaks down that whole hierarchy. You don't just receive care, you learn how to give it.
It's empowering. I think that's the word for this whole deep dive, empowering.
It is. Even if you're skeptical about the specific mechanism for, say, treating a cataract, the core message is hard to argue with.
Yeah.
You should know your own body. You should pay attention to its signals. You should take an active role in your own health.
It brings us right back to that car dashboard. Most of us are driving our bodies down the highway at 80 miles an hour, and we have no idea what any of the buttons do. We're just hoping that check engine light never comes on.
And Diện Chẩn is essentially offering an owner's manual. It's saying, here's the map, here's how the wiring works, learn to drive the car.
So here's where we'll leave you today.
Yeah.
We're not saying you should go and cancel your next doctor's appointment, but here's a little challenge.
A little homework for you.
Tonight, when you're standing in front of the mirror, brushing your teeth, just stop for a second, lean in, and look at your face.
Really look at it.
Don't look for wrinkles or pimples. Look at it like a map. If the whole premise of Diện Chẩn is true, If that face staring back at you is actually a live status report of your entire internal world, what is it trying to tell you right now?
And are you willing to learn the language to understand it?
Thanks for diving deep with us. We'll see you on the next one.
Take care.